Hi, my name is Santosh Abraham. I'm the co-founder of DataOGram. We keep doing these capacity building sessions. This is the third of its kind. We have done Google Sheets, we have done XLS forms, which is also quite helpful for the social sector. And now we are trying to share our insights or knowledge on Data Studio. Like I mentioned in all the sessions, it is not a one-way traffic. It's a collaborative approach. We have to help each other we can. So whatever we know, we'll be sharing. If you know something more, that'll be great for you to share your inputs. We're going to cover Data Studio today. It's also called Looker Studio, but since we are familiar with the term Data Studio, I think we've retained that so that people understand what it is. From the audience from the applications or the signups that we got, we saw 15% of you use Data Studio, which is great, but it's even better for the rest of you, the 85%, because the intention is after today's session, you should be able to take away something that you can start your journey in Data Studio. More you use it, more there's enough repository online as well to sharpen your skills. But we intend to take you in that journey. This is not a design session, so we are not going to come and comment on how you should design the dashboards. It is about how you can use Data Studio. So just to set the expectation correct. Now, why use Data Studio? Of course, because Data Studio allows you to visualize your data. And many of you use Google Sheets, you use Excel, so it is easily integrated. You can easily bring it into that particular application and use it seamlessly. When you use dashboards on Excel, usually those dashboards are limited to your own PC. But moment you use an app like Data Studio, then what happens is you are able to share your dashboard very freely. It's very intuitive. You are able to create dashboards easily, collaborate, share. You can also create donor reports, set a certain frequency and send it across. So we will cover all of that. And of course, most important thing, it is free of charge, so anybody can get started. How is the session planned today? I've shared like an overview of Data Studio. We'll break the session to two parts. And after both the sessions, we will break into very short exercises so that we strengthen our understanding and so that we walk away learning what we are expected to do. So please go to lookerstudio.google.com, sign in with your ID, and you can come to this particular page. That is the first step. Also, I'm sharing a link. Now you can click on that link and sign in with your Gmail account. That way you will have access to Looker Studio, which is what this session is all about today. So now the first thing that we will do is I've taken a sample data and we will be sharing this with you for an exercise purpose. Now this data is designed in a manner that we are conducting an urban baseline survey of salaried employees, taking into their height and weight also. So we took some parameters so that we are able to play with it. So the information that we have taken is, we have taken the state, district, their degree, their height, weight, their annual income, their credit score, their religion, and we've also put a donor section. Why donor? Because many times you work on certain projects for a donor, but you may want to collect the same data for other donors. So ideally, you should be designing your form in a manner that the donor information is captured upfront. So you are able to filter it out much easily and share the data. You will know why as we progress with this information. So like I said, this is a baseline that we are going to conduct. So the first question is, how do I connect the data? So you go to Looker Studio, you open a blank report. When you open a blank report, what you will see is the report itself prompts you saying, where is the data? Add the data. There are two options. You can connect your data, or there are existing data sources, which you can see that I can link, right? So the app has to be told that these are the data sources, so you can work with multiple data sources. For this particular session, we'll use Google Sheet because that is where my data exists. I'll click on Google Sheet. Many of you who are using Looker Studio for the first time will get a prompt when you're doing this. Looker Studio will ask you for authorization, right? Because when you have a certain data, you have to authorize the app to use that data. So some of you may see one step before, which is authorization. But in my case, I've already done that. So I get to go and see all my spreadsheets. Now here is the data for Data Studio exercise. So I'm going to click on that. It will ask me which Worksheet do you want to pull? If I have multiple worksheets, it will ask me multiple. Here I have only one. So I'll click on that and I'll add. So just give it some time. It'll connect. Here it will give me a prompt. Should I add it to the report? The answer is of course yes. That is what we want to do. By default, you will see that in this application there are first names. So you will see that there are some records which are already featuring here. Now I don't want this, so I will just click on it and delete it. So I'll start with a clean slate. If you see now that on the data, now for the first couple of things, I will be like really going very slow so that you get the understanding. And once you do, it becomes very easy. So first is you might want to put a name to this, right? So baseline urban dashboard. So I'll call it a baseline for an urban dashboard. Quick some inputs on the chat. If you're a founder or if you are a person who's viewing this data from a distance, what is it that you would want to first see if your team is collecting this data on the field? What is it that you would want to see? The first and most important thing according to you, data is continuously coming in from different states. So what is it that one thing that you would first want to see? So you will want to see the number of records. So number of records is great. So number of records is the absolute number, but we always suggest you should have you have a range that you want to collect. So maybe I have collected 100 plus data, but I may have a target of collecting 200 data. So always good to see where you are moving against a target. So while if you go to this space called add chart, you can click on add chart. And as you add chart, you will see if you want to get absolute number, you have something called a scorecard. You can click on that and get it. But now we will go down and you will see that, just 1 second. Move this. You'll see something called a gauge. So click on that. So what does this do? This gives me the record count. Now, if you look carefully, it will give me a record count in a range. So if you click on this on the right hand side, you'll see certain values. It is split into two parts. One is setup, one is style. Style is what is the look and feel. Setup is what the setup is, right? How it is data setup. Now the first thing is the data source is going to be the same, right? It is where we pick the data source up. If your data source has a date dimension, it will pick up the date dimension. Now here the metric, it automatically picks up the record count, which is what we want. So the metrics is also, again, when I'm saying whenever you're working on these, don't try to overcomplicate it. Go through every header and you will easily understand what this means. So metrics means what is it that I want to see. Here automatically there are various fields. All the fields that are there in your dashboard will feature. But for me, I just need the record count. So I'll click on record count. It is good to go. That is broadly what I need here. Then I'll go to the style part. When I go to style means how is this design? So compact numbers is instead of having your numbers shown in lakhs or millions, you want to make it compact. So if you compact it, it will show it in thousands. So it will become easier for somebody to view. Here record count is showing as 102.0. I don't need the 0.0 in this case. So I will just say I don't want decimals. So it will be no, 0, right? So the decimal value goes here. Next is the color of the bar. I can change the bar color depending on whatever you want to put. So I can change the bar color here. Here, if you see that I have the option of putting in the maximum value and the minimum value. So the minimum value is 0. Maximum value I'm expecting to collect, say, let's say 300 data points. That is my maximum. And I want to have a target. I want to set a target in terms of how much should it be. So let's say my target is 200. Now, if you see, look at this dashboard, it is slightly more meaningful where I know where am I inching towards my target or not. It becomes much more, as if the dashboard is talking to you also, right? So that is what we should try to achieve. If you scroll down, you will have options like label. Label is self-explanatory. Record count, this text is a label. So here I would like the text to be slightly bigger. It is a bit small. So I will just go and maybe increase it to 48. And great. The other thing is borders and background. Now I can choose a different background. So it will change like this. Here I want to keep it as maybe transparent. And the border, I'll have maybe a gray border. And the border, like all of you may know, you can define the size, the border weight. Right now I'll keep it as 1 because I don't want, if I increase it to 2, it becomes thicker. If you see that, if I make it 4, it becomes thicker, right? So I don't want that. So I will keep the borders, one second, border as 1. And yeah, if you want to add a shadow and all, you can add a shadow. So this is how your first piece of visualization looks. The next thing that you may want to know is, I'm collecting data from different states. How is my overall state data looking, right? Within state, I'll have different districts. So how is that information going to look? So I'll go to add chart. I can go to something called a tree map. I can pull the tree map out and drag it, put it here. Now the tree map, whenever you're dragging the data, the system will by default, the app will by default assume that you want something. Yeah. But you can always go and you can change it. I'll go this 2 times over so that you are very clear in terms of this. Styling is something you can figure out, but it's very important to understand the concepts of dimension because that is what you want to achieve from this. In the tree map, what I want to achieve is, tree map is good if you're clubbing the data. So I will want to club the information at a state level. And within the state, I want to see what is a district level split in terms of how my data is looking. So state and then district. So what do you think should be the first dimension that should be factored? Or maybe let me give you a hint. The first dimension should be state, correct? Because I want that state information. So I'll say the first dimension is state. And what is the second dimension that you can suggest? Because
District.
I want districts. Great. So I'll take state. I'll select the state here. And then I will add district. So if you see now, we have blocks. You have Maharashtra, and within Maharashtra, you have Mumbai, Pune, Nasik, Thane. You have Karnataka, you got Bangalore, this, and Uttar Pradesh. So this is achieved. But I would like to see the numbers also, correct? And so what is the record that I want? I want to see the count of what is the submission. So I'll keep it as record count itself. And then everything else remains the same. I'll go to style. In the style section, I can again change my colors. If I want to change the colors, I can maybe keep it at this if I want, or I can leave it at this. I have various options of, and see, this is like a heat map. The colors keep on changing. On the top, you will see there's a slider. So it defines, if the darker it is, the more in terms of the weightage of the data that is there. Now, if you scroll down, you will see that should I change the text color? If I want to change the text color to red, I can put the border color, I can change it. Or else if I want to keep it the way it will stay there. If I want to change the text color, it is here. If I want to increase the text size, I can increase. If I want to keep it the way it is, I can keep it. Here, if you see, there is dimensions only, is that it will only tell me what it is, but I want to see the values also. So I'll say I want to see dimension values as a metric value. If I want to see it as a percentage, I can see it as a percentage also. But if I put it as a value, I see the absolute value. Now Mumbai is contributing 23 out of the 102 that is being submitted. Cool. Here also, if you want, I can add the border and I can put a border shadow if you want to, and my second dashboard is done. So this is how my second dashboard looks. Somebody in the chat had said, I want to see what is the split based on something, right? So if I go back to my data, I would want to see what all do I have. I've got first name, I got last name, I got age, state, height, weight, annual income, credits for religion. So let me see what is the religion level split that I have in this particular data. To get this, I think the easiest thing to do is, all of you would know, it's like a pie chart, right? Add chart, go to the pie chart, drop it here. I can always move this around a bit to adjust. We all like symmetry. So here I'm going to get the pie chart now. By default, it is picking up the state. I'm going to run this through. So if you see that the pie chart is for state, so what do? I click on this. There are 2 tabs, data and properties, right? Data is what is my data. So you can just click on data and it will arrive, right? If you want properties of what? Properties of this particular chart. So here the date range is date. The dimension is what? I want to get the religion. So what should be the dimension? Can somebody in the chat just keep it flowing, because through conversations we will probably get these concepts better.
Religion, in case we want to see religion.
Yeah, so you can type in, if you have a lot of big data set, you can type and search, or you can scroll down. So you get religion. So you have the religion split. And again, you can go to the style, and here you can, if you have a certain format, you are able to replicate the format very easily. You can just right click on this, you can go to copy. When you go to copy, the next thing is you can paste. When you paste, the same thing happens. But if you right click and you just paste special style, which means that the previous style will get replicated here. So you can copy the dashboarding style every time. You don't need to keep on going to border and putting the information stuff. You can just copy style. So this is how it will look. Now here is the tricky thing also. So if you see that this particular dashboard, the record count is slightly bigger, but I want the border to be copied. So if you copy the style, there are chances are that the text also will be bigger. So you have to edit that. But let us assume you want just the borders and all to be consistent. So what you do, you have to right click, copy, which means you've copied this particular thing. And you can go to the question, the chart that you want this style to be implemented, click on it, right click, paste special, and style only. So just the style gets pasted here. Yeah. Now a quick quiz question. There is an error in this particular data, the tree map. Can you find it? I'll probably give you like 15 seconds to find it.
Actually, we haven't done the data cleaning. That's why Maharashtra is coming twice.
Perfect.
If you look at in the
no, it is consciously done so that there is something that I want to share in this particular call. So you've got Maharashtra, which is appearing 2 times. That is the error in this data, correct? Because one is small case, one is large, one is Gujarat, and this is something which you would be facing in real life. So how do you overcome it is something which I will come to after the end of this particular session. The next thing that I think I'll just pause and share as a quick tip or trivia is that I don't know how much of you, so you will have different colors. So I really struggle with colors personally, and we all want to have our dashboards looking nice. So the colors, there are a lot of complementary colors. So we put in blue, we put pink, etc. How do we find complementary colors? So what app that we use is something called COLOC, like color with an extra O. So if you go here, you can click on something called Start Generator. Now Start Generator will give you complementary colors. You also have the option of uploading. You can upload your logo, and from the logo pick a color. That's also possible. So you can get complementary colors, or else you get complementary colors here. All of these are hex values, right? So you can just copy it and you can add it. If you press space, the colors keep on changing, right? So complementary palette keeps on coming. So if you just press space, you get the complementary colors going. Now, maybe for this session, let us pick this as, let us say this is our brand color that we want to use. What I can do is I'll go to my dashboard. This is the first thing which I want to change. Now, let me go here. Let's take this blue. I'll copy this, which means I copy the hex value, go to the properties section, go to style. In style, I have the bar colors. So I'll click on this. Under custom, I can press plus, and I will see that there is a hex value option, which I will just paste here and I'm done. So my bar value comes in here. Maybe the next one I want to have this, or maybe purple, for example. So this particular color, I can copy the hex value. I can go here, I can right click. Yeah, I can go to my tree map, plus, paste, done. So now I have this value going. If I want my branch headers to look something different, I can have that also. My branch headers changing. Similarly, for my pie chart, I can go to manage dimension colors under style, right? There's manage dimension color value. Here, all the typical values, it will give you a predefined color. Now, in this particular case, I have a Hindu, Christian, and Muslim split. So I will maybe take these 3 colors or to go with. So I will take this green. I will go here and change. I'll go to take this. Yeah. So now we are like good to go in terms of the color, because now the palette is balanced. So this is something that you can use. Another thing that I think we can share is there's something called themes, which you should probably, you can set these things out early. So you can go to themes and layout. Depends on the kind of background you want. You can decide if you want to have grayish background, you can choose a theme. If you want a black background to make it look cool, you can do that. So you can have some predefined themes or you can customize it. That's completely up to you. The next thing which you may want to do, you may want to customize the way your dashboard looks. So you may want to add your brand logo and stuff. So you can just go to image, upload from your computer. I can put in. So I'm putting in my app logo here. So I can just put that here. So you can put in yours as well. For any pie with multiple categories, do we need to select color separately? No, you don't. So you don't need to select color separately. The system will by default give you the colors, but you can change them. What happened when the same color is allotted to another data set? You can, of course, all of these is you can customize. So there is the colors is completely up to you. I hope everybody is clear on the themes and logo part of it. Clear? Now, the next thing I have is I've got 3 values, right? Height, weight, credit score, 4 values, and annual income. So I want to see how is my, when I say annual income, if given the kind of range that I'm going to go and do the survey for, I don't think some will make sense. So I want to see how is my audience on an average. So let me then try and capture what is my average annual income, what is my group's average height, average weight, and average credit score. So these are the 4 parameters for which we'll try to focus on average. Now, when we do this, what you will also learn is how to change the metric calculation. So just be mindful of that. So here I'm going to go to add chart. There is this option for scorecard. Let me take that. I'll put it here. By default, it gives me a record count, etc. So what I'll do is I will now go to the property section of this. If I see there's a metric value, so if I want to get average salary, so I will obviously have to get the income. So income is my number. You'll see that in this particular section, there are the annual income is by default sum. So you can click on this. And once you click on it, you can change it to average. So it will come, you can select average because that is what you want. You can label your chart by saying, so average income, let's call it average income. So you will see that the average income field has come here. So that is clear. And what we always recommend is please label as much as possible all your dashboards so that it is very clear, right? So whoever is looking at it, you should try to put in as much text. So this is average, but the style looks a bit odd. So what I'll do is, if this is the first thing that I had mentioned to you about compact numbers. So it is 848, 400. So I will try to make it compact. So it says now it is slightly smaller and easy to consume. Do I need a decimal or not? That's up to you. In this case, a decimal makes sense because the number is in thousands. So I'll leave it at 1. I'll keep the label and everything the same. I can have alignment. So I would like it to be centrally aligned, everything. I would want that my label is slightly bigger. So I'll take it up to say maybe 36. And my background and my border, I would like my border to be gray and with a bit of shadow. So this is done. So now my average income is also here. Do I need to do this every time? I don't need to do this every time, right? So I can just click on this. I can do Control C and Control V. This gets replicated. So let's just do that first. I need 4 values. So let me just replicate it. So now I have 4 values right here. You can play around with the alignment. Broadly, I'll try to match it. Now we have 4 values because you just copied one and you have taken the formatting and everything and taken. So next one, what I want is I want to see what is the credit score, because income and credit score are next to each other in terms of the concept. So I'll say credit score. Again, you will see in the metric, it is by default sum. So you can click on that and make it average. And I can name average credit score. Now the next here again, credit score, I may not want decimal. So I have the option to go to style and remove the decimal. From auto, I'll make it to 0. So there'll be no this thing. Next, I'll do average height. So I can click on my chart, go to properties. In properties under metric, I can see what is that I want. I can do maybe height, pull out height, make it average. I call this average height. And the final one is average weight. So I'll just look for, like I said, you can type it in, you can scroll. So great. So now we have our first dashboard first page. You can also add text. You can click on the text box here. Like you can click on image to add the logo, click on the text. You can put the text here and you can call it urban study, and I can increase the size. So this is how your first dashboard looks like. Now, another good thing about Data Studio is that the data itself, the way it is, you can click. So if I say this is the entire data, so if I want to only see Mumbai, I can click on Mumbai and automatically everything around will change. So now I know that the count of Mumbai is 23, that the split of the religious split is this, the average income of Mumbai is this. If I want to see of Jaipur, I can click on Jaipur and I can get the same data. So it's all clickable. That's another good feature that I find, which is relevant for you. And at any point in time, you can click on the reset button on top to get back to the initial data. Any questions so far that will be helpful for everybody and yourself?
We do baseline size for our leadership development program. So there are multiple, what you can say, data fields like where the value is coming from, the different regions, the different places. So we can use this for
any data. That's correct.
Which is on Excel or Google.
Yeah, it is. So what I had shown you, it's a good question, because what I've shown you is when you are creating this, it gives you the option to add data, correct? There are various ways of adding data. For the sake of this conversation, we spoke about Google Sheets. So if you have data on Google Sheets, you click on it, authorize Locus Studio to have access to your Google Sheet. Alternately, you can upload a CSV. So if you have a data in CSV, you can upload that, and that is also fine. Both are options. There are others also, but for this conversation and for this audience, we'll just stick to this.
And then what about Excel? If I have Excel data,
you have to take it into CSV and upload. Now you can save it as CSV because it will take one sheet at a time. Because Excel, you may have multiple sheets. So how will the system know which one to pick? Correct. So you will have to say this sheet CSV upload.
Great.
We spoke about this error, correct? Maharashtra and Gujarat. And what if you suddenly see this error in your dashboard? Now, why did I put this in the thing is because this is very common, right? We all face it. So this step is quite important and relevant. Click on this. You go to your data. In your data, you will see there's an option to add field. You can do it from resources also, but let us show it to you from here itself. So if you can add a field. Now, why would you add a field, right? There are already a bunch of fields there. I'm adding a field because there is something that I need to correct. Some may be a new calculated field I want to incorporate. So what I saw, the error was that somebody had put in Maharashtra as capital, some had put in Maharashtra and small. Now, how do I solve it? I can solve it by bringing both the formats same. How do I make both the formats same? I can make both of them capital. So then by default, everything is going to be in caps. There are various uses of this, and it's not really possible to cover everything, but this is very useful. So there is online content. Please go through it. Field name, I'm going to call this state in caps because it's in capitals. What is the formula that I want to use? I want to use a formula upper because it will make it into uppercase. Everything is going to become uppercase. What do I want to make uppercase? I want to make the state data uppercase. Click on state here and save and done. So when I do that, what you will see is that there is this new field which will be denoted with an fx function. So that is like a calculated field called state caps, which is come here. So there is state, which is the original one, and now a new field called state caps has come. I can delete the state and I can replace it with state caps. So that way, if you see that my error is fixed now. So I don't have two Maharashtra, two Gujarat, etc. I have just one. Any questions? I'll show you one more example of calculation which I have factored in this particular training. Now is the another very relevant part, which is collaboration and sharing. So if you have multiple people working on the same dashboard, that is possible. You can click on share, and just the way Google Sheets work. So you can add your, say, team member. Let us say I'll notify them. The person can be an editor. Here, what I would just say is, as a tip is, you'll see this gear button. click on this gear button. If you don't want the editor to add more people, so you can prevent it, correct? So you can click on this, so then they can't keep adding more people. You may give some people access to viewing. That also means that they will have access to downloading the data. So if you want to disable that, you can click on that also. So both of that you should use judiciously. And I can, for this, I can make this public so anybody can view and save it. Now, some question that you asked, what can I do with the report? So if you click on this arrow button here, so if right next to share, you will see there are various options. I can schedule a delivery. I can send a report link. I can embed a report. Embed report means you can put it in another your website, etc., not into your Google site. Or I can download the report. So if I click on download report, it will ask ignore custom background. So I'm just like hit download, and you are able to download the report as it is. Okay, so it is preparing the PDF and download. The second thing is you might want to send scheduled delivery. For that, so I'm going to create a new page. So there are 2 pages now that are there. So I can give these pages names. So first one can be named as line, and the second I will rename it as detailed report. So now I have 2 pages. Now, why did I create 2 pages? I'll tell you that also. For, of course, I'll be doing one report, but before I show you how to schedule a delivery, so you may have donor reports which you have created, and you can have every page for one donor. You are able to send message to multiple participants. Let us say I can have Asha, and I can customize the email subject. I can write what I want them to. I can customize an email, customize the email draft. This is self-explanatory. Entire dashboard doesn't have to go. It can go, it may not. So you can select pages. That is why I created 2 pages. So I can just say baseline summary. When should the report go? And what frequency? Do I want it daily, monthly, weekly? So here you can easily, this can be done with donors. It doesn't make, I'm not sure if you will do to donors, but yeah, at least within your team, you can have a morning report which can go out to everybody automatically. So this, I hope it is clear. I'm just quickly saying, click on next to share the button, click on schedule delivery. Everything else is very intuitive. So you will just go with the flow. Fantastic. So this is a useful feature that you may want to use. I think I've covered everything for this particular session. There'll be a link shared with you. This is this data, basically. You have to go to file, make a copy, and just make a copy for yourself. And then I'll tell you steps once again to connect your data. So just connect your data and make any visualization for yourself. Maybe you can make the first visualization. If you are stuck, please feel free to ask questions. Go to the data, make a copy for yourself, go to file, make a copy, save it, go to Looker, and start with a blank report. Just maybe we give it 10 minutes.
Santosh, there's a question, I'll read it out. For a scheduled delivery, is there a way to update the data automatically?
Yeah, so the data on Looker Studio gets updated every 15 minutes by default. So if your source data is refreshed, then the dashboard also gets refreshed every 15 minutes minimum. So just to show you, you can see that if you go to data resources, you will see that the data refreshness is every 15 minutes. You can change it to every hour, every 4 hours, every 12 hours, but data refreshness by default is 15 minutes.
There was another question that, is it possible to work with maps?
Yeah, you can, but we are not covering that in today's session. So there is this chart, you'll have maps, right? Google Maps.
There was another question. Can I get minimum and maximum of annual income from the same chart?
Yes, you can. Just the way you got average, just in the same window, you will have minimum, maximum, everything there. Some minimum, maximum.
There is one more question. Is it possible to connect data from multiple sheets?
Yes, it is possible.
I have one question. Can we also connect data here from Kobo, or like we have learned how to connect it to an Excel sheet. Can we also connect it to other like Google Forms? You have mentioned about Google Forms. Can we also do the same for Kobo?
How do you connect it to Excel sheet currently? Are you pulling the data?
Yes.
So whoever has helped you with that, I'm sure you can connect it to Google Sheets also, right? Just like it's in Excel. So like
Okay.
our application, you can easily pull it out into both Google Sheet as well as, I'll just show you that in some time. So it goes into Google Sheet, and then Google Sheet is, which means the data is a continuous flow from Kobo to the Google Sheet, and then from your Google Sheet to Data Studio. So it's going to be this constant flow of information that is possible.
Thank you.
Yeah.
There is a question in the chat. How can we arrange age groups like below 18, 19 to 25?
You mean arrange or sort? If you want to categorize it, you should ideally categorize it at the form level itself when you're collecting the data. That is the best way to do it, or else you clean up the data that way and then pull it here.
Okay.
The intention of today's session was to give you the basics and decent enough ammunition to get the ball rolling. So here, if you come back to this particular session, a very interesting question came about: how can I restrict the data to the donor? Two ways of doing it. One is I can just add a control here. I can just have a drop down, correct? I can just put the drop down. In the drop down, I can say, what is my control field? What do I want to control? I can click here. I can write donor, and that becomes my controlling field. So if I go to view, I can see that there is this donor. Let me just move this around a bit. I can see that there is a donor filter. Click on the donor filter and get the data for that particular donor. But if you were to ask me, I would not do this for donors. Filters is a great way, but not for donors. So I'll just delete this. For donors, I will want to restrict the data, limit it to their data only. So the best way of doing it is, if I go to the chart that I want, I can click on the chart. If I click on the chart, under setup, if you scroll all the way down, there is an option for filter. I can click on filter and I can include only, I can select include data only for whom? Only for donors, which is equal to ABC. So now the donor filter gets applied in the itself. So you go to the question, go to setup, scroll all the way down to the filter, and then you put the filter. Now the good thing about the app is that this filter is now recorded on the system. So all you need to do for your others is you can go to the next map, go down all the way to the filter section, add a filter. This donor filter already exists. You can just click it and the filter is done. Same thing you can do for your others as well. Let's reset this. So I hope this one question that one of you had is going to be useful for everyone. So any question, feel free to ask. So you can use a donor filter and then share only this sheet for your donor, which is there. Now talking a bit about us also, taking a break from this. I think what we will also do is I'll just share a bit about DataOGram and what we are doing for the ecosystem. What we have is we're trying to solve the whole piece of how organizations collect data, which could be an offline environment or in online environment. And of course, when you go to the field, there could be very complex data. How do you manage different projects and few other things? So I'll just take maybe 1 minute of your time just to tell you what we do. So we have an application which you can download from Play Store also. It's a subscription-based application, details of which is there on our website, and we can obviously get on a call and discuss that. You can organize your projects right here, which means you can access your data at any point in time. Even if the project is 5 years old, you can just click on a project and go to the data and check it. Within the project, you can manage project teams so that your data access control is clear, right? Because every form will have somebody you may want who will enter the data, somebody who can see the data, somebody who can see the basic dashboards and stuff. So you can actually restrict people based on teams. So let us say we have field team, M&E team, and team leads who you can then go and add your members here. And if somebody leaves the organization, you can remove them from here or from the main organization control as well. And then against the particular form that is there. So against the particular form, you can go ahead and give them access to whichever team they belong to. So you can grant them access according to their roles. And what is relevant from this conversation, one of you shared, I use Kobo already, and then I want to pull the data. At times that becomes a bit of a challenge. So we have a data share function, which is used very actively. Go to data share, you can create your data share link. You can copy this, and there is a way to pull it into sheets, which we will share with you also. So you can copy this and open. So like, for example, here, I've already imported that link. So the data keeps in pulling in here. And once the data is here, I can pull it into Data Studio and use it. We are, for all the people who are here, if you want, you can avail a 1 month free usage of this particular application. And we'll be sharing a link right now, and you will be sharing it, where we would just request your feedback for the session, any help items that you may have. Along with it, if you want to avail this option, you can do that. So that is what it is there. We just wait for a minute in case Sanju is sharing that, and in case you want to fill it. So the form link is shared. Please feel free to put in your comments. We just wait for half a minute before we start the next one. If you have any questions, happy to take that as well. Cool. So let us now move to the next section, which is charts and pivots and filters. So what we will do is we'll go to the next page. In this page, I can include. So I'm assuming all of you are comfortable with pivots. Let us say I want to find what is the correlation at a state level. What is the correlation of education and annual income for at a state level? That is what I want to find. So how do I get that? I can go to this. I can go to add a chart. There is an option for pivot at the bottom. Click on pivot table, drag it here. So once you do that, then you will see there are some by default data which is already captured. Let us fix that. So in this particular pivot, what do I need? I want my rows to be state. I want the state to be row. And if you see, we had fixed the state error with state caps. So I'll fix it to state caps. So now state caps. We don't like to see state caps. So let us see if we can fix the name. I can just click on the edit button here and change it to states. And the value here gets changed to state. In my rows, I want to see the academic, the education background. So I can go and select education. So now my row is full of the different degrees that are there. But what do I want to see inside? I want to see the average annual income. So let me go to the metrics, click here. What do I want to see? Annual income. Do I want to see the sum? No, I want to see the average annual income. So there we have our pivot table. It's as simple as that. I can drag and drop and resize this. That's absolutely. I think this is pretty straightforward for everybody, I hope. Now, again, if you want to go to style and do all that, is absolutely, you can completely use this section to customize the way your table is looking. The next thing is table. So here I have got a huge data set. I don't want to show the huge data set. I want to work with a limited number of data set. For me, I don't want height, weight, etc. I just want the age, the state, district, age, and annual income. So how can I reduce the table to a space that I want? So I can just go here, go to add a chart, click on table, put the table here. Now in this table, this is giving me some values by default, which I don't need. Let me start with a clean slate. I will remove dimension. I'll remove the metrics also. I don't need. So dimension, I will start with age. I will start with name. Now here I have consciously put first name and last name separately, right? Because I just realized, oh my God, so I don't have a single name together, but I want a single name to appear in my table. So how do I achieve that? So if one of you had asked me the question about how I fixed the upper in the state. So this is going to be very similar. So please watch this space carefully. I've got first name, last name, but what I want is in my data, it should show first name and last name together. So I can go to data. All my existing data gets listed here. I can go to add a field. Now, logically, if I have two different things, how can I achieve? Can somebody tell me what is something that you would do on Excel or Google Sheets to bring the value together? What function would you be using?
Concatenate.
Concatenate, correct? Perfect. So here I will call the new field, let us call it in Indian terms full name, and go to formula, and then there is formula called concat. So I'll use concat what? Concat my first name. Now after first name, I would want a space. So I'll put a comma, I'll put a space, then I'll put a comma again. What do I want to concatenate next? Last name. So here is my concatenation. Now let me say save it and done. So for one of you who had asked me to show you how to do this, is how it is done. So you can have the formula section and use it for various things. The options are pretty much a lot, so you can learn it on the go. So now that I press done, I have something called full name, which is now appearing here. So I will drag full name. So let us see how that comes. So the full name is appearing here instead of just the first name. The next thing that I want is I want to see their state caps. And again, if you don't want it to show as state caps, we always have the option of renaming it. You can call it states. Then I want to see district, annual income, credit score.
This won't be advisable for big data sets.
No, it's not about advisable big data set or small. It is just that if you have a lot of columns and if you want to minimize it and shrink it and see what you want to see, this is advisable. There is no, it's again a visualization, right? I don't want to see all my 20 rows. So what do I want to see? I want to see only a limited set. That is what I want to achieve here. So now if you see that I've got my pivot here and I've got my tables here. The next, what I wanted to also cover is how to add controls. So there are different controls like filters. Here, if I want to add a control, there is an option called slider. If I click on slider, put it here, I can have a slider for annual income. Let us see how this looks. So the slider comes as it is. So this filters my data, right? So I can slide it and it will reduce the data. So if I want to see income at a certain level, it will tell me. So if I want to see more than 10 lakhs, I see most of the people do have a doctorate degree in different locations. I can also, this filter gets also applied to the table downstairs. So you can get that data also. Who are the people who have got more than this? In the slider, you can use a slide or you can change it here itself. You can change the number. That's also possible. So this is how you use a filter, but slider looks a bit cool. Frankly, there are various ways to achieve this. Now we can also, you might want to say, I want to see a data in a certain date. So I can put a date range control. This is self-explanatory. If I want to add a control where I want to see information of a certain state, so I can just put a drop box here and the drop box control always picks up something else by default. So this is right now picked up education. So I'll just click on this and move it to state caps and we are good. Again, you can change it to state. If you see that my dashboard here is ready, I can just reset everything, which means everything gets back to original state. I can click on state and I can get only Maharashtra data. If I want to get some other data, I can get that. So I hope this is clear how to use filters, different type of filters to be able to see your data. Any question before we move to the last part, which is conditional formatting? Everything is clear? Fantastic. So the last part is, if you click on this, let us say this table, if you go to the property section, you will see that there is style. Within style, there is something called conditional formatting. Now, what is conditional formatting? If I want the whole point of dashboard is you want the data to talk to you, correct? So if you want the data to talk to you, then you have to make it as intuitive as possible. You have to make it as descriptive, make the attempt to write as much. So if you're putting a table, now I put a pivot here, but I should put a text box explaining that what is the impact of education to annual income. So that is what I would probably write as a header, which gives you the insight into what I should look for. And also if I want to highlight certain values. So if I say I put a conditional formatting, I want to add a conditional formatting, which says what is a rule. I would want to go to annual income greater than, let us say 10 lakhs. and I can put various conditions. And here I would say this is, if it is, then please show the entire row in green, because that's a good sign for me to see. You can also use it to get red flags. So that's also possible. So if you see that everything is green, so let me see if I can change this to, let me change the state. Maybe if I get one state, I'll get some variance. Oh, this is Tamil Nadu only, single data. Great. So this is not highlighted. But if I have, say, Maharashtra, then I will probably have some more variance. That data, we set this single data point. So here you will see that above 10 lakhs, you have one which gets highlighted in green. So that's a conditional formatting option that you can rely on. Cool. Any questions here? Great.
Santosh, one question. How do we ensure that our audience gets to know about the conditional formatting?
So they don't need to know, or your audience doesn't need to know about your conditional formatting. That is what you do in the backend to highlight what you want the audience to see. You get what I'm saying? It will by default be there. If I send you this, if you want their eyeball on certain items, like for example, if you're reporting upwards and they want to see certain metrics which are red flags, so they don't need to know it is conditionally formatted. They just need to look at the report and quickly understand what to pick. Does it make sense? Is it fine?
Yeah.
So conditional formatting is what happens in the backend.
We do that in Excel as well.
Yeah, correct. Thank you so much. I hope this was useful session.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.